If one is to take this particularly reductive approach to evolutionary change, that the fundamentals occur at the smallest molecular level, they have impacts on cells and organisms, and then the environment is the context in which these cells and organisms' variation takes on a particular profile. From there, all diversity accumulates as these effects continue to proliferate. If one takes this view, it's fairly easy to start thinking of development as the handmaiden of the genetics. If you've got big A, big A, big A, little A, little A, little A, and that means purple, purple, white, well, making the actual flower, making the actual plant from the whole profile of genetics is obedience. Genotype produces phenotype, and we're done. This particular view then feeds into the difficulty of trying to actually find this happening and quickly running into all manner of nuances. The vocabulary began. The word epigenetics comes from all the way back in fighting the difficulties between genotype and phenotype. And even by the 1960s, things were starting to look a little bit uncertain. The number of genes with every new investigation, every new refinement of technology, started to shrink, and with each one continued shrinking. A look at the presence of introns, immense swaths of DNA that did not in fact code for proteins, the recognition that many different mutations had no impact whatsoever on the function of the DNA they were embedded in. All kinds of other things started to make this whole picture look a little squeaky. Mutations weren't behaving. Development wasn't behaving. As early as the late 60s, people like Aaron Moscona were discovering important effects of cell membranes in action, defining all kinds of things about development. And ultimately, this would crest into the wave of evo-devo that really wouldn't hit the rest of biology until the 90s. But you can see those cracks beginning to form. Even more so, however, in terms of the fundamental assumption of the new synthesis, as below, so above. Yes, fine, we have individual effects of reproductive outcomes, and then the effect on the population, what we call fitness, is a statistical summary thereof, and nothing more. The idea, therefore, that you could look at the outcome for a species and then say its ultimate fate, for example, its extinction, or the ultimate fate of species across a whole group, are themselves a statistical summary of individual effects at each species level. So species become individuals and whole families and orders of organisms become species. This extrapolation, which never really had much to support it except for the assertion, itself really started to look squeaky.